Look at those speed babies flying across the racetrack. The roar of the engines, the smell of burned rubber. Yes, friend, we are back.
Hey everybody, this is Doug Kinney from Stories from Motorsports, and today we have Kyle Whisner with us. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you bringing me on.
Yeah, tell us about your book in the back.
Well, I thought it'd be kind of cool to put that little background back there. So at the end of the year, a book that I have been working on for the past couple of years is coming out. It's called The Long Run: Racing Past Limiting Beliefs. And essentially, it's a self-help book, a little bit of a memoir, but it all has to do with racing terms and things that I've learned over the years. Racing has taught me pretty much everything I know about life, and anything else that I've learned, I always equate it back to racing anyway. So I figured, since everybody told me for so long, you need to write a book. So I finally did, and there it is.
Yeah, for sure. What got you into racing?
Oh wow, that's a long story. So my father was originally from Iowa, and he ran what they call jalopies. He was born in 1940, and so yeah, throughout his life he went to the war in Vietnam, and then he ended up moving to California. He was a big part of the drag racing scene in Southern California with my cousins, the Newmans. And he did a lot of stock car racing. He ran at, whether it was dirt track stuff or a Riverside Raceway, or it didn't matter. He was at every racetrack that was around. And when I came along, he wanted to bring me into it. And instead of asking all the people that he had helped out to repay the favor to him, he said, "Hey, my son wants to do this. Give him a shot." So he ran with all the stock car guys out in Riverside. I'm named after Kyle Petty and Ronnie Thomas. It's in my blood, as they say. I come from a lineage of it, and I've been there ever since I can remember. I started when I was 9 years old. I couldn't really keep up with guys with full-blown mustaches at the BMX track, and so my dad brought me to a karting track. And we didn't come for money, so everything that we did with what we had, hand-me-down parts and whatnot. But ran karts for a good long while and moved up to 125 shifter karts, and we didn't win a lot of races, but I learned a lot, and I learned how to rebuild my stuff and make sure that I took care of it. It was all about having a discipline, right? And then I got into stock car racing. I was 15 and a half. I ran my first pro stock. That led to late models and super late models. My home track was a place called Orange Show Speedway, which is the Bowman Gray of the West, and ended up running all of the short tracks on the West Coast, whether that be Bakersfield or Kern County now, and El Cajon, and I mean, shoot, the list goes on. All of the West Coast tracks that are out there. And one of my earliest memories of traveling was flying to Phoenix. I think I was probably 15 years old for a tour race out there. And yeah, it's been a part of my life. But my life took me in a different direction than a lot of the other folks that have moved their way up through the sport. And when I was about 20, I think my dad got sick. And interestingly enough, I was at Phoenix, crewing on a car, and I got the call and he told me that he had cancer, and so I had to kind of adjust and figure out what to do there. And it was either we continue to race, and he tried. Believe me, he tried. Even all the way through his surgeries and stuff, I was still trying to race at Orange Show and doing what we could. But it just got to the point where I had to take care of him instead of focusing on racing. I got a phone call one day from a friend. He said, "I hear you need some work." I said, "I do." He said, "Show up to this address." Drove into Los Angeles and found myself on a film set and got a job taking out the trash as a PA. And that led to 10 years in Hollywood, doing all different types of things, from transportation department to anything I could on the behind the camera side to be able to make a living. And then people started realizing I was pretty good in front of the camera as well, and I was good with people, and I could talk. And so I started getting cast in things, and that's where the world as an actor started to become a thing. I realized that you can work for 6 months and not work for 6 months, and that's how Hollywood is. It's a gig-based economy. And so my mom was working a second job at California Speedway as a security guard, and she called and said, "Kyle, you got to check this out. There's a bunch of race cars down here." And I said, "Mom, it's California Speedway. Of course, there's a bunch of race cars out there." And she said, "No, no, no, no. It's something different. You need to see what's going on here." And so she went down and tracked down the manager of what was then the Richard Petty driving experience. And she said, "You need to meet my son." He said, "Can you send me a resume?" I did. He said, "Can you start tomorrow?" I said, "Yes." And I got a job suiting up people and putting helmets on folks and buckling them in the cars. That job led to ride and drive and instructing and racing or driving and instructing on some of the most prestigious racetracks in the country, including Daytona. And then the same sister company picked me up, and I started doing ride and drives with FCA, giving thrill rides and Hellcats and Vipers. And I did that job for about 10 years, airport, hotel, racetrack, over and over and over again. They finally said, "We're paying you too much, and we need to come work in the shop while you're not on the road. And so you need to move to North Carolina." I moved to North Carolina, so that brought me here. And while I was out here, I ended up working at a university for teaching kids how to make movies. I was the production coordinator there at the University of North Carolina School of the Arts. And then NASCAR called again, said, "Hey, we need your help." And I ended up getting a job working on an Xfinity team, and then working my way through that whole route, and ended up, pretty much running the shop there by the time it was all said and done. Yeah, now we find ourselves here now where a year and a half back or so, I got the phone call from NASCAR, and they said, "You're eligible to get back behind the wheel in the truck series." And so here we are now, trying to find money, doing the best I can with a lot of good people out there, working hard to be able to make it happen. And while all of that stuff is going on, I'm still out at the racetrack helping people out, making sure the youth has the knowledge that they need to be able to be successful in the sport, and writing books and acting in commercials and auditioning for TV shows and films and all that fun stuff. So that's a long-winded story of how I got started in racing and where I'm at now.
Oh, wow, baby, look at those speed babies flying across the racetrack. The roar of the engines, the smell of burned rubber.